It is 1 o'clock Central Time, 2 o'clock Eastern. Thank you for being here today. I just like to start with a few meeting logistics as people come in. Let's see, we have several folks still coming in. When this number settles, we'll start with some meeting logistics. Let's give it 1 minute. All right, the numbers continue to grow. And we'll start exactly 1:02 Central Time. So thank you everybody for being here. Welcome to this webinar. This webinar will be recorded or is being recorded. Please be sure your microphone is muted. Throughout the presentation, you may type questions using the Q&A option at the bottom of the screen. The slides and the recording of this webinar will be posted in the funding opportunity page after the webinar is complete. To access the caption service, please click on CC icon. It's marked CC at the bottom of your screen. So if you hover around the bottom of your screen where you also see the Q&A, just next to the Q&A icon, there is CC. If you want to access the caption service, please click on that icon. In the chat box, we will start to put up some links for you to access as well that are of importance and relevance to this webinar. Next slide, please. Welcome to the Community Foods Project's Competitive Grant Program for fiscal year 2025. This is the RFA Technical Assistance webinar. My name is Lydia Kame, and I'm a National Program Leader in the Division of Nutrition within the Institute of Food Safety and Nutrition with the National Institute of Food and Agriculture, NIFA in short. And we are with the United States Department of Ag, or USDA in short. Next slide, please. Before we get started, we want to make sure we talk a little bit about our non-discrimination statement and make you aware of it. And I'm going to read just a little bit of it, not the entire thing, so that you know what this entails, and we will share with you this some information, or in the chat we'll put here the statement so you can refer to it later on your own. So in accordance with the Federal Civil Rights Law and the U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA, civil rights regulations and policies, the USDA, its agencies, offices, and employees and institutions that are participating in or administering USDA programs are all prohibited from discriminating based on race, color, national origin, religion, sex, gender identity, including gender expression, sexual orientation, disability, age, marital status, family or parental status, income derived from public assistance program, political beliefs, or reprisal or retaliation for prior civil rights activity in any program or activity conducted or funded by USDA. There's information here for individuals with disabilities to access reasonable accommodations as well as language access services on this as well. So look into that. Next slide, please. Exciting part. So here I would just like to introduce the NIFA team, and they can come out of mute and introduce themselves real quick so you know who constitutes the CFP, the Community Foods Competitive Grant Program team. We have Jamelis, I know you're here.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Jamilis Ocasio. It seems like Lydia had an issue with her Zoom. So thank you for coming. I am program specialist for this program. We also have with us Shanique Hendrickson. You're here.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. My name is Shonique Hendrickson. I am the other program specialist on the Community Foods program.
Thank you, Shanique. We also, as part of our team, is also Dr. Suzanne Sluga. She's our deputy director. And also Dr. Shoishan Steve Zhang. He's our acting division director for the Division of Nutrition. Of course, you just met Dr. Lydia Kame. She is our national program leader. And we also have in our team Takiva Shepard. She's our program assistant. And I will continue with this presentation while we have our NPL, our national program leader, back. And we apologize for this confusion. These are the topics that we will be covering. The NIFA overview. We have a program overview, the request for application details, and the proposal evaluation process, and the resources, program contact, and eventually your questions. We have two areas. We have an area for questions. That's the Q&A. Please put all the questions and add all the questions that you have in the Q&A. We would like to share, and we will be sharing links in the chat. And so the Q&A, the questions will be addressed at the end of this webinar. Thank you. Let's go over with the NIFA overview. We have the national NIFA is the National Institute of Food and Agriculture. This is the extramural science funding agency within USDA's Research, Education, and Economics mission area. This means, as an agency, we are the lead federal agency that provides extramural funding for food and agricultural sciences. NIFA was created through the Food Conservation and Energy Act of 2008, and we invest and support initiatives that ensure the long-term viability of agriculture. In addition, NIFA provides funding and strategic leadership for programs that ensure groundbreaking discoveries in agriculture-related sciences and technologies. Here are a list of the topics covered by all NIFA programs. The Community Food Projects Competitive Program, which is this RFA, falls under the food and nutrition security topic. Before we dive into the program overview, I would also like to remind everyone that is interested in apply, that please read the request for application. This is also known as the RFA. So when we talk about the RFA, we're actually talking about the request for application. This webinar shares the core information in the RFA, but is not substitute for the RFA itself. So the RFA should be considered the primary reference document for this funding opportunity, and applicants should ensure they have carefully read the RFA before beginning the application. So with that, let's begin. There are several categories of grant types available across NIFA. Please note the type of grant for CFPs, our program, is the standard grants. You are welcome to familiarize yourself with other types of grants that are available in our NIFA website. So standard grants, and we are 100% extension. So that is our project types. You're gonna see that they are research, education, and extension. CFP projects are 100% extension. Now, on page 3, you're gonna see that there were a couple of changes from a prior year in this application. You will see that for those who are specifically resubmitting, it is very, very critical that you take note on these changes and read the RFA. This RFA will be used to solicit applications for 2 fiscal years and allow applicants to plan. So please note that this RFA will be open and closed each year. There might be slight modifications, very small modifications between 2025 and 2026. But this RFA is expected to remain relatively the same for these 2 years. Also note that proposal submission should be made for the appropriate year. For example, only applications to be considered for FY25 should be submitted in FY24, which is now. But before you apply to this program, make sure that the purpose of your project aligns with program purpose and priorities. The CFPCGP, the Competitive Food Projects, the Community Food Projects Competitive Food Grants Program, they are to be designed to require one-time contribution of federal assistance to become self-sustaining, to meet short and long terms. The goals have not changed from previous RFAs. However, they are broken down to ensure the program is meeting its goals as authorized. Applicants are required to address 2 or more of the goals that best fit the plan or the project being proposed to ensure a comprehensive and sustainable approach to resolving food and nutrition security and hunger. As short-term goals, they are meet the food needs of food insecure individuals through food distribution. Number 2, develop community outreach to assist in participation in federal nutrition assistance programs. And number 3, improve access to nutrient-dense food as part of a comprehensive service. So in this slide, we highlight the long terms. Number 1, to develop a long-term sustainable projects that increase the self-reliance of communities in providing for the food needs of the community. Number 2, develop long-term projects that promote comprehensive responses to local food access, farm, and nutrition issues. Number 3, meet specific state, local, tribal, territory, or neighborhood food and agricultural long-term needs, including needs for equipment necessary for the efficient operation of competitive of the CFP project. Develop a comprehensive plan for long-term solutions to food and nutrition security. And number 5, develop long-term projects that lead to the creation of innovative marketing activities that mutually benefit agricultural producers and income eligible consumers. In addition to meet the purpose and priorities of the program, in selecting projects to receive federal assistance for this program, NIFA shall give preference to planning projects and community food projects designed to include these elements. Number 1, develop linkage between 2 or more sectors of the food system. Number 2, support the development of entrepreneurial projects. Number 3, develop innovative linkages between the for-profit and non-profit food sectors. Number 4, encourage long-term planning activities and multi-systems interagency approaches with multi-stakeholders collaborators that build the long-term capacity of communities to address the food and agricultural problems of the communities, such as food policy, councils, and food planning associations. Number 5, develop new resources and strategies to help reduce food and nutrition insecurity in the community and prevent food and nutrition insecurity in the future. And we have a new program preference. And I think our national program leader is back. Lydia, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. You want me to finish up that slide?
Yes, so you can highlight number 6, of course, please. Do so.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So this new program preference element is in alignment with the food loss and waste priorities of USDA. So this element states we want projects that also, on top of the CFP goals, integrating actionable plans or activities that would reduce food loss and waste within the local food system by keeping the food in the human food supply chain. And what we want to mean by that is, there are ways of preventing food loss and waste that are wonderful, like composting. And although composting is very important for our soil health, that is not direct. It's not truly completely direct to the human supply chain. So we want activities that would, reduce that food waste and that food loss, and support food insecurity, like right immediate coming into the human food supply chain. Next slide. So this next slide is to talk about a few of the components of the planning projects, and the next one will talk about the community foods project. So what are these? Planning projects provide early stage investments in new startup projects or to complete plans towards improvement of community food security. When applying to these type of projects, you want to use the program code LNB, and you might think, why is this important? If the right codes are not used, these projects, your proposal may not land in the right category or even be able to be found in time for review. So it's important that you use the program codes LNB for projects that are for planning. The duration for these projects is 12 to 36 months. The minimum request is 25,000, and the maximum request is 50,000. This has increased from what it used to be, 35,000. So this is something a little new. The matching requirements, are needed for this project. So you want community resources that match 1-to-1, dollar for dollar match, which is required at the time of application. This is a question we get a lot. Do I need match before or after I'm awarded? The match is required during the time of application, at the time of application. Please note that proposals for planning projects requesting below 25,000 or over 50,000 will not be reviewed. Slide, please. So this is the next type of project that is funded under this program, the Community Foods Project. Applicants that apply to this program should know that the purpose of this project is, or this grant type, is to seek solutions over the long term rather than focusing on short-term food relief. Applicants are to seek comprehensive solutions to problems across all levels of the food system, from farmer to consumer. Community foods projects should not be designed merely to support individual food pantries or farmers markets or community gardens or other established projects. Rather, these projects to build on these types of activities and encourage innovative long-term solutions to food and nutrition security. And please also note, because these are one-time funds to a project, successful project should be sustainable beyond government and matching funding. So a successful project should have some sustainability beyond this initial funding. And applying for this particular project, you want to use the program called LNC. And the duration for these awards is 12 to 48 months. Minimum request is $125,000. So keeping in mind that it has to be 1 year to 48 months, which is 1 year to 4 years. Minimum request is $125,000, and the maximum is $400,000 over that period. So matching requirements, again, here we need a $1 to $4 match. And proposals that are requesting under $125,000 or over a year, or $400,000 will not be reviewed. So we want this to be very clear what these limits are, minimums and the maximums. Next slide, please. Now, thank you to everyone who has been sending questions to us to help us understand what type of information you need, especially with regard to eligibility. We have provided the eligibility information in the RFA and on our program website for easy access, so you all can have it. I will not read this entire slide to you because as Shanique will have sent you the program site for you to see where it's located, and you can read in your own time and really make note of it. But what I would like you to understand as we go through this webinar is that for eligibility for this program, the type of entity is important to consider, but also the type of experience that organizations have is an important part of the eligibility criteria. So in terms of entities, those eligible to apply are public food program service providers, tribal organizations, private non-profit entities, including gleaners. And in terms of experience, what those missions or what experiences this organization should have, it's all listed from 1 to 4 with a lot of detail. So I want to be able to read through that, make sure you have experience in community food work and you can demonstrate competency to implement a project, that you have demonstrated willingness to share information to researchers and other practitioners, and have experience collaborating with others across the food system. So next slide, please. In addition, we have shared the documents needed to show evidence of eligibility when it comes to the entity. And this is required at the time of application. So when you make your application, make sure you attach evidence of eligibility in terms of entity, and that should be attached on field 12, where we have other types of attachments. Where you have other attachments, this is where you attach this evidence, and the evidence documents for proof of private nonprofit eligibility are listed here, 1 to 4. So a copy of currently valid Internal Revenue Service tax exception certificate, a statement from a state taxing body, a certified copy of the organization's certificate of incorporation, shows they are established as a private nonprofit, and any of the above proof for a state or national parent organization. that is affiliated with the applying entity. And it would be very prudent for you to look at the NIFA policy guide for this additional information so that you're really clear on your eligibility and what to provide as evidence. Next slide, please. So we also get lots and lots of questions about matching. And so I'll touch on this for this slide, and then the next slide we'll talk about some other mechanisms as well. So the community food project and the planning project applications must provide that matching on a dollar-to-dollar basis for all federal funds requested at the time of application. In the application, match must be documented for all project years at the time of the application. So if you're applying for a period of 3 years or 4 years, then match should show for all those years. We have this in our RFA as well, that matching funds can be cash or in-kind contributions, including third-party in-kind contributions fairly evaluated, including facilities, equipment, or services. And non-federal share may come from state or local government or other nonprofit entities or private sources. Matching funds must be documented in the R&R budget form and the SF 424 form. So here's the thing. Sometimes we have those two documents that don't match. The funds that are being requested in the R&R and SF 424 needs to match, and the match as well needs to match. So make sure that that's something that is matching up for you when you're making these applications. And then something new is new to this RFA is that matching funds in excess of required amount will not be considered as part of the application review. In the past, we have had organizations that send in their application with an overmatching. So, so let's just say you're applying for 300,000 and you can match 400. So we had no regulation or no guidance about it. But now we are saying that do not overmatch, just provide the match as required. And the overmatching will not be a consideration that it's a strong application. And if you do overmatch and you do get the award, you will have to redo your budget all over again. So it's best to not do that. Next slide, please. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about sub-award restrictions. So in the RFA on page 23, you'll find information about sub-awards. The applicant has to be the qualifying, the entity that is qualified to apply, that meets the eligibility and has evidence and all of that. So, but the applicant must perform a substantive portion of the project, and no more than 50% is federal and matching funds, as determined by the budget expenditures, may be sub-awarded. Then you want to talk about projects may divide their budget allocations between partners as it fits their work plan. So there has to be a reason why you invite a partner into a project. It's because they have probably additional knowledge or expertise that is not available within your organization. And these projects are typically huge coalitions of community members coming together to solve a food insecurity problem. So this program allows sub-awards, but please note, the applicant must perform at least 50%, at least 51% of that, of a portion of the project. Next slide, please. Now let's talk about some things that are not funded, and you want to clarify and make sure that you all know that this program does not support renovation, refurbishing, or other construction costs. And a successful applicant must not use these funds awarded under the authority of this RFA for purposes of infrastructure, improvement, and development. And our AMD team would tell you that if something is not allowed for federal, it's also not allowed as matching. So please note that. Next slide, please. So the Community Foods Project has lots and lots of examples. This is a program that has been with USDA for 26 years now. And so we have a lot of history. There's a lot of projects you can glean into and look at what has been funded before. And so rather than give you examples of activities which are really very broad, we thought we could provide you a QR code that takes you to the list of planning projects and community foods projects that have been awarded in the past. So you can look into those, and that will help you in your determination of what activities you want to continue pursuing with your projects. And now I'm going to hand over this back to Jamilis to talk about application details and documents. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Kame. Give me 1 second. All right. So now we're going to talk about the application details and documents. And the first thing is the application details. So you're going to see that in the page 9 of the RFA, we're going to have some information, most of the information of the application details. We have our deadline, which is also in the first page and in our web page too, and which is Thursday, November 7, 2024, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. So that means 4 p.m. Central Time. So it changes. For us, it's 5 p.m. Eastern Time. That means that after 5 is late. So take that into consideration. Please don't wait until the last minute to apply. Systems, computers, technology is not always the best as human beings, right? We are perfect against any other technology. So we want to make sure that because we're using these systems, errors might happen. So we want to make sure that we don't wait until the last minute to apply. The total funding available for this particular funding opportunity is $4.8 million, and the funding opportunity number, very important, this is the one that you're going to be looking for in grants.gov, is USDA-NIFA-01095. And of course, the program codes LNB for the planning projects and LNC for the community food projects. The application submission, NIFA only accepts electronic submission, and this is through grants.gov. Take into consideration that a SAM, unique identity entity identifier, or UEI, is now required in place or the DUNS number. So make sure that you have in advance time to register and take care of this identified number. You must have this identification number before you apply for this grant opportunity. Application document must be in portable document format. That means PDF or PDF to be accepted by NIFA. Grants.gov will allow you to submit other formats, but our systems in NIFA will not be able to open it. So please use PDF to submit any document for your application so we are able to open and we are able to screen it. Do not use a third-party PDF builder. And in the chat, you should be able to see soon, if you haven't done so already, the NIFA Grants Application Guide available. The duplicate or multiple submissions instruction refers to submitting the same application to multiple programs or request the request for application, sorry. This is not allowed by NIFA. So if the application is to be submitted to this request for application, and it's the same that you have submitted to another program, the last submission will be disqualified. So that's the duplicate or multiple submissions limitations. This is not allowed. Institutions are allowed to submit multiple times the same application in a special case. So if there was missed a document in the first submission, then you can resubmit, but in the same, but it's not a different request for application. It's the same because you missed a document, and we know that sometimes that happens, but take into consideration that NIFA will only consider to screen the last version. So be sure that in this last submission, you are going to include all the documents in PDF, because this is the submission that NIFA will screen. An institution or a PD is allowed to submit multiple completely different applications to the same program. These include having a different project summary, project narrative, especially the objectives, and all other required supporting documents should reflect that there are two or more different, completely different applications. Here is the list of application requirements. We have, this list is exactly the same that is in the RFA. So I'm not going to go over in specific, but is exactly the same as the RFA. So you have this list to make your own checklist for that. And later in this presentation, we also will have our technical assistant provider for this program, and they will share with you some information about this too. Going over the abstract or project summary is one of the most critical documents that needs to be added. I'm sorry. Yes. And we're going to make a very, very important note about the project summary and the project narrative, which is the next one. There needs to be two completely different documents. Project summary and project narrative are two completely different documents, each one with specific instructions. So please go to the RFA and verify those instructions and those specific requirements for each one, so you are able to create those documents, and of course in PDF. We also have two very important documents that sometimes are highly missed, which are the conflict of interest and current and pending. Please take the time to go over these forms. You will have access to the technical assistant provider, the contact information. It's important that you understand these documents. These are very important for us to process the applications, for the screening, for the peer review process, and it needs to be included. And of course, in PDF. And I will stress this enough, because we want you to succeed. The data management plan is another very important document, and you're going to have this information. You're going to see it, the links, and in the RFA and through the web page. This is required. The investigators must provide details up to 2 pages, including the expected data type, the data format, the data storage and preservation, the data sharing, protection, and public access, and the roles and responsibilities. So all this information needs to be shared. And the next is the proposal evaluation process. So here is the evaluation criteria, and as you can see, each one of the project types, the planning projects, remember, planning projects are the L and B, and the community food projects, L and C, both have their own evaluation criteria. So please go over the RFA and read it carefully, so you know where your project better fits and how to adjust and write your project, your proposal, to better fit this criteria and to be successful. The peer review process goes as follows. First, we receive the proposals through grants.gov, of course, documents in PDF. The proposals are assigned to reviewers with an expertise in the topics, the proposed topics. Then the reviewers will produce individual reviews, which will be used for a panel discussion. Through the discussion, peer review panelists come to a consensus on the final ranking of the proposals, each one of those proposals. And then with this discussion and this consensus, then NIFA uses this to produce the recommendations. Please review the evaluation criteria of the RFA for all this information. Common mistakes to avoid, and this is taking into consideration past submissions for this particular program. Submitting the application too close to the deadline. There is always issues, and it's like traffic lights. When you are late to your destination, all the traffic lights are red. So please be sure to have some time before the deadline for the submission. And if you have to register into SAM.gov for your organization, for your specific identifier, it needs to be ahead and in advance. It needs to be with time because it takes more time to have that identifier. Incomplete application, missing required documents. If you have a missing required documents, specifically from the list that we just saw, go to the RFA, check all the documents that you need, and make sure that you have all the documents in PDF, and then you're submitting all those documents. Documents not in PDF. Again, remember, grants.gov will allow you to submit, but our systems will not be able to open them. And if we are not be able to open them, it's like we haven't received them. Combining the project summary and project narrative into one document. This should be 2 documents. Project summary has their own specific instructions, and project narrative has their own specific instructions. You can check the RFA and verify for each one specific requirements. Funding and matching funds do not align between these 2 forms, SF 424 and R&R budget. These type of questions, reach out to our technical assistant provider, which you will meet soon, because they will be able to support you and help you with this. No proof of eligibility submitted. Again, go to the RFA. There is a list of the eligibility requirements and what are the documents that you are able to submit. Incorrect program code. This is very important for us to be able to locate your application. We need to be able to locate your application among all the applications that are submitted to all the programs to NIFA. So make sure to put and to add that particular program code, the respective program code. LMB for planning projects, LNC for community food projects or implementation projects. Incorrect funding opportunity number. In these slides and in the funding opportunity page, you have this number. The first page of the RFA, you have this number. Take a note of this number and make sure that you are submitting your application to this particular number. Requested funds are below or above the requirements. Make sure that you are following the budget requirements. If you are planning to submit for LNB, which are the planning projects, is between $25,000 and $50,000. If you are planning to submitting for community foods projects, LNC, is between $125,000 and $400,000. And late submission, very important. Don't wait until the last minute. Grants.gov technical assistance. Please make sure to have this information, and this is also available for you through grants.gov. If there is an issue with your application the moment that you are applying, and the issue is with the system of grants.gov, we do not have access or we do not manage grants.gov, you have to make sure to call the applicant assistance support. And there you have the phone number and you have the email. Make sure to contact them and have a ticket. Keep the ticket for your records. Keep the ticket, this information. Once you are able to provide so you have evidence to provide that you are trying to submit, but make sure to contact them. Remember, we do not have access of manage grants.gov. So if you have any issue with specifically grants.gov, make sure to contact the technical assistance. And for this particular slide, I want the technical assistant provider to come out of mute. And camera, I'm gonna take out, give me a second to take out the.
You want us to go, Yamilis?
Yes, please.
Okay.
I'm removing the spotlight so you can all come in, please.
Okay. So
Go
hi,
ahead.
my name is Andy Fisher. I'm the project co-director for ISED for providing technical assistance to community food project grantees and applicants, and Emma Bliss is here with me as well. We are contracted to help you write your grants. Not that we're going to write your grants for you. I should clarify that, but we have a number of resources that are available that you can access through this QR code. And I think the website link is going to be put into the chat as well. But we have a number of things, including grant writing guides, FAQs, a checklist, timelines, some videos on how to do forms. We've done a couple of webinars as well. The recordings are available. You can also contact Emma and I to request assistance, find out if you're eligible, to discuss your program design, to answer questions about the RFA, about the grant proposal itself, as well as to do proposal reviews. So we're here for you and we're happy to work with you. Emma, do you have anything else you want to add?
No, that's it. I guess I'll just point out that the QR code on the right here, that will take you to an intake form, and then that's the best way for us to get to your application assistance request. And we'll do that within 48 hours usually. Thank you.
Thanks, Yamilis. Thanks for having us on.
Of course. Thank you, all of you. And so in our next slide, we have the grantee requirements. So once awarded, the grantees are required to cooperate with our technical assistant provider for two things: attend to project director meetings and to share copies of all the NIFA required progress report and final reports with the technical assistant provider annually for the life of the grant, for preparation of the program annual report. We also strongly encourage to participate in the optional services that are provided by our technical assistant provider that you just met. And we have our resources and contact information. So we want you to visit us in our program webpage, and you have the QR code and you have the program webpage links there that will have the basic information of the program, this funding opportunity, the links to our technical assistant provider. You will have the also the NIFA events calendar is there in the slide. This is for upcoming deadlines, meetings, and webinars. So we welcome you to visit these pages. We welcome you to look at them. There's also the upcoming requests for applications. So you can verify this calendar, and you might find their programs that it can help you support your community. These are also grant resources. Remember that these slides will be shared in this technical assistance webinar page, and you're going to have access to all these links that will help you and will support you in your writing of your proposal. The program team contact, this is the email, is a mailbox, it's a shared mailbox for all the CFP team. And we're also sharing the email for our technical assistant provider. And now we are good for questions. I'm gonna stop sharing and ask Lydia to come out of mute.
Yes, I'm unmuted now.
Yes. I'm gonna stop sharing right here. I believe Shanique will be moderating the questions.
Yes, I am here and I have
Thank you.
quite a few questions. So the first question we have is, can my organization apply for both a planning project and a CFP at the same time?
Yes, that is technically possible for you to do that. However, I think I would recommend talking to our technical assistant team to help you navigate that, because if it's for the same project, then I think it will be difficult to convince reviewers that you can do planning and implement at the same time. But that, you know, I wouldn't be reviewing your proposals, but convincing the reviewers that you will do both the planning and the community foods projects at the same time might be challenging. But technically, yes, you can apply.
Okay, the next question is, are programs like SNAP and Double Up Food Box considered state program, and thus would be acceptable for the funding match?
So I believe the SNAP is a federal project, so program, so any federal funds cannot be used as much, if that helps, but state funds can. However, you want to go back to where the funds came from originally. So if they came to the state, and this is a great question, and we would like it actually answered even more deeply by somebody in the budget office. So let's highlight it for our FAQ. But what I was saying is, if originally you were funded by the states, but that funding came from federal funds, it wouldn't be it cannot be used as much.
Thank you. Okay, so before we continue, I've noticed Martha Marak, you've had your hand raised since we started. Do you have a question? Thank you. Okay, so the next question up is will this program provide grants to public charity tax-exempt food pantries?
Well, the program provides.
Will this program
repeat the question?
Will this program provide grants to public charity tax-exempt food pantries?
As long as the food pantry does have the documents to provide evidence that they are a non-profit, they should check in and with our technical assistant and be sure that it follows that, but I do not see why not.
So it is stated in the RFA that 1 to 5 co-applicants are allowed. Is there an ideal number of co-applicants?
No, we do not provide an ideal number of co-applicants. And I read that as partners to a program or sub-award, with sub-awards or without. So it could be any number depending on how large your project is, the geographical region that you're covering. Yeah, we see all types, all sizes, small and large partners.
Are we allowed to submit more than one application? That is 2 separate projects for the same organization?
Yes, and Jamil has covered that in one of the slides, so it is in the RFA. The 2 projects have to be completely different. So an entity can apply for 2 projects.
Can I jump in on that? You don't mind?
Sure.
You know, my sense is it takes 80 to 100 hours to do a good application. So if your organization has that amount of time, good for you, but it's a lot of work. And so from our perspective, we would recommend you focus on doing one application really well, then trying to do 2 applications and spread yourself thin.
Thank you. Are standard grants reimbursable? And how often do invoices need to be submitted?
That's a great question. We get this question a lot. So they are not, our NIFA grants are not reimbursable. And we have language that we can provide you with regard to that. You get a drawdown. Once you have gotten the award, you can draw down. There are guidelines and regulations about how much money you can draw down. You should draw down based on your budget and close to when that funding needs to be used so that you're not drawing down and keeping a lot of money in your books. Does that help?
Thank you. Can you explain what that means, what it means when it says one-time funding and sustainable approach? Give examples.
Right. This is quite challenging, of course. That these funds are supposed to support community with one-time funds for a project and make it sustainable. So I think you have to think about the spirit of the law that authorizes this opportunity. And our understanding is Congress was looking at a way that individuals could move from a place of receiving public funding or public help, food assistance, into being communities that actually are food secure. So coming together as a community to find a solution is where the source of much comes from. That the community got to be very invested in finding a solution to their food security issues. And so the government funding is only matching that investment. And I know it is challenging to do that, but especially because you might need more funds to continue an ongoing process, but that's the spirit of the law.
Next question is what is considered long term? Okay, go ahead.
Okay. What is considered long term? Okay, that's a good question. Long term, I will answer that question and also add to what I was saying earlier with the fact that USDA has several other grants within USDA in general that we also do supply links to people who are interested in finding other types of awards that they could add different facets to their projects to keep it more sustainable. With regard to long term, I do believe that you can define what that is. But in terms of long term for food security is such that community feels food secure for the length, not just for 4 or 5 years, but as long as the community exists. So I think these finding solutions that within the community that are really led by the people is the goal. NIFA does not define what that term is.
Okay, thank you. If we have an active NIFA award through 2027, ARP, Technical Assistance Investment Program, are we eligible to apply for this NIFA opportunity?
So any entity that is eligible to apply to the Community Foods Projects Competitive Grant Program can apply as long as it's the project that they already have with NIFA is not the same one that they're applying for. So for a new project, yes. And was that APA? Was it spelled APA funds?
It did not say
ARP.
ARPA, just say ARP,
Okay.
and I'm guessing it's ARPA, but I'm not sure.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So the next question is, NOFO states that federal money cannot be used to match unless it is expressly authorized to be used for this purpose. Can ARPA funds be used as match? Awarding agency must confirm that no waiver has been granted for the program per U.S. Treasury. Okay, so I believe that might have been an answer to a previous question.
Oh, okay.
Is in-kind match
those are federal
acceptable?
funds.
Yes.
Yes. In-kind match is acceptable.
Can you define what in-kind match would look like?
Yes. So in-kind match. So you're partnering with another organization and they are able to provide, rent for office space used exclusively for these funded projects that you're applying for. Or, they're able to do things like, administrative stuff like doing duplicates for, paperwork or postage costs or staff time from another entity that is also partnering with you. So yeah, we have several types of in-kind that is acceptable. We also have a list of unacceptable match. And of course, we've talked about the federal funds that, that would be double dipping. And then we also don't accept match of income expected to be earned during the project period. Or indirect cost rates applied beyond the federal portion of the award. We don't also accept contingency costs set aside for unexpected expenses, match, that type of thing. But you can match with equipment and other services. Can I drop off again?
No, you are here. Thank you. So
Okay.
someone asked to confirm the request amount for planning projects is for the total duration. So 25,000 total is not 25,000 per year if a 3-year project is proposed, correct?
That is correct. Those are totals, not per year for each of those programs. So what you're requesting is total.
Okay. And can you give examples of how planning projects can be used towards current projects? Is that possible, or does this have to be a completely brand new project we develop?
I don't know that I understand that question.
Okay, I can read this again.
Sure.
So can you give examples of how planning projects can be used towards current projects? Is that possible? Or does this have to be a completely brand new project that we develop?
So let me hope I am understanding this to say you have a project that a project that is existing and you want to apply for planning project in addition. Is that how you're understanding it, Shanique? In addition to an ongoing community foods project, you want to apply for a planning project. That's how I'm reading it. But
yes, that's how I'm understanding it as well.
And if that's the question, it is a little bit of confusion because, well, if it is a totally different project that you are applying for in terms of you want to start planning for another community foods project, is completely separate objectives, separate, separate partners, separate everything that you want to do, or it could be even similar partners, but it's a completely different project that you want to plan for. And that's okay. But then if you already have an implementation project, it's assumed that you already planned for that one and continued to do that, Yeah.
Okay, please clarify the match requirement again. What does at the time of application mean?
Okay, at Great. Yeah, so when you're applying, you ought to have secured match from your partners, or you need to have the match, just like to be able to document that this is where your match is coming from at the time of application. The reason I was clarifying is because we do get the question from individuals who want to make an application, and then only at the time when they hope that they get an award, and then they will look for match. That's not the requirement. The requirement is to have match secured at the time of application. When you send your application into NIFA, you should have that match secured. Hope that helps.
Okay, so I have a question here. Why have a match? Match requirements are another way for you all to make the funding inaccessible. While I understand the dollar can be in-kind donations, including volunteer time, what is the exact conversion to US dollars?
All right. To the person who posed the question, we appreciate that comment, and we do understand that having a match requirement does make it more difficult to access this program. The way to understand the reason for match, it helps to understand that, for me, it is the only way that you can show that this is owned by the community, that the solution that you're applying for, that you have come up with as a community, is also owned by the community. And that's also why any type of, in-kind match is very acceptable, including volunteer match, including, staff time, all of that. So it shows the investment of community resources into figuring out problem of food insecurity in the community, so you own the problem. That's the idea. In terms of how do you convert like volunteer time or staff time into federal funds, or into a dollar amount, there are websites we use, and we can always walk you through that. I think there are already established prices, or rather costs on volunteer time. The last time I looked, it was $25 an hour. So there are ways to count it, and we can provide technical assistance to you to be able to do that. Yes, that's something we can help you do.
Thank you for that. Is working with farms or farmers a requirement for this grant?
It is not a requirement. That's a short answer. There is very many partners in the food system, and it's depending on what the project is about, makes sense to have farmers. And for other projects, it might not make that sense to have farmers included. So it depends on the project.
Next question, can you expand on what exactly should be submitted as evidence of matching funds?
Yeah, that's this is what we do. We require that you have the matching documents in-house at the time of application. And when you are asked to provide if you're awarded, and the award management division will ask for the documents to support that you have the match. At the time of application, we just require that you show the match and you document that match through your budget narrative.
I'm gonna stop Shanique here. Thank you, Shanique, for moderating the questions. This is amazing. We have, I believe, 49 to go, and 34 answered already, either live or typed. And unfortunately, we have no more time, and we want to respect the time of the people that separated this time for us. We want to make sure that we want to let you know that we have these questions, and we are going to make sure they are answered and shared. It might be in a document, either a Q&A or a document through the webpage. So please be attentive to this. And if you have any questions, any additional questions that we have not answered, and or you are not understanding, please reach out to the technical assistant provider or us at NIFA, so we can answer your question as best as possible. Any final remarks from our national program leader?
Thank you, everybody, for being here, and thank you for your questions. We look forward to working with you as you create your projects and design them. If you have questions, please reach out to us or the technical assistant team. Andy and Emma are a great resource for you. So I would encourage you to reach out to them as well. Otherwise, thank you very much, and I look forward to working with you.